As the price of gas inches ever upward, and don't say we didn't warn you, a little talked about news item that has been plowing ahead for about a month is finally starting to get some attention, and it will indeed make a mark on your wallet. Let us thus dive into the world of bulls, bears, and bucks. Let's welcome in Rob Williams, deputy editor from moneynews.com. Hey, Rob, how are you today?
Hi there, Ed. Great, thanks.
Another day in paradise. Let's get started. Oh, it might be paradise if, of course, you're not looking for an oil refinery strike. This is an interesting story, Rob, because it hasn't really gotten a tremendous amount of attention, but this is 4 weeks. It's the nation's largest refinery in Texas, 1/5 of the entire U.S. refining capacity. How has that affected us to this point? How will it affect consumers going forward?
Well, I think the reason it hasn't gotten enough or a lot of attention is that it hasn't really hit consumers in their wallets yet. Even though this strike has been going on for several weeks and it does affect the refining capacity a large amount, they still are managing to keep these refineries running with replacement workers such as management and engineers that they've hired. So the output is the same, and we're not seeing it completely affect gas prices yet.
Which is all good news. They're still kind of working on getting this whole thing settled, so it might go on for a little bit farther.
Right.
Let's also then talk about what's happening with regard to money in people's pockets. McDonald's now taking a lot of heat. Walmart raises the minimum wage to $9. I see where McDonald's talks about the fact that if they raised their minimum wage, it would cost them about $1 billion. Excuse me, if you will, for a moment, Rob, but I don't think anybody's going to be really that concerned about McDonald's having to spend an extra $1 billion.
Well, that's right, Ed. We're talking about major corporations here, and so the people that'll really feel the effect of it are small business people that compete with Walmart or McDonald's for workers. Suddenly, they're going to have to feel the pressure to raise their wages to get the workers that they need. But we are seeing a lot of pressure just throughout the country. 20 states this year raised their minimum wage. So with the improving economy, wage pressures are now starting to show up.
We'll see who comes up next after Walmart and McDonald's. Let's move to grain. Now, here's something we really don't talk about enough, but it does. Again, this affects the wallet. Grain prices down to 4-year lows. Midwestern farmers are breaking their lease contracts. This is exactly how much land they're going to work. And then this then figures out they may default on loans, how much food gets into people's tables. This is a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, we've seen a huge collapse in commodity prices, especially grains, in the last few years. And much of it has to do with the stronger dollar. A lot of investors are putting their money into the United States, and that raises the price of the dollar in comparison to other currencies. And then that has a ripple effect on everything else. So farmers are having trouble selling their grains overseas because of the strength of the dollar, and now we're starting to see it show up in these leases being canceled or renegotiated.
How long do you think it would take for that to get down to the consumer level, and what kind of a effect do you think it'll have? Because let's face it, I mean, grain here in America, we're talking breads, we're talking cereals, we're talking a lot of consumer products.
Yeah, the inflation has been pretty tame, especially in food and energy. Gas prices and oil have fallen, and also food. We have seen some pressures. Some meat costs, let's say, like beef and pork, are up over the last few years. But as you said, grains are at a 4-year low, like soybeans, corn, wheat, etc.
All right, last thing here, less than a minute left. The West Coast port strike or dispute, if you will, that's been settled. But still, this could take up to 2 months for goods to start moving across the United States. That is going to have a ripple effect on businesses and consumers, correct? Already is.
Well, yeah, there's quite a few tanker ships off the coast of the United States waiting entry, and you're right, it will take a couple of months for these goods to get offloaded onto ships, and it is affecting companies. We talked about McDonald's earlier, but they rely on imported agricultural goods, so that should lower the price of some of their food costs.
All right, Rob,
coming
we've just
in.
now heard everybody here for the week because we told them how much money everything else is going to cost them. They really are not liking us at this moment. But then again, we have to bring a little dose of reality to the table every now and then. Rob Williams from MoneyNews.com,
right.
thanks so much for joining us. Also, a reminder, don't forget MoneyNews.com. That's where you go, right here on Newsmax. You can go to Newsmax.com, click to Money, or go to MoneyNews.com. Rob and the gang will tell you there what's happening 24/7. All right, a double dose of what's cooking with the next generation of leaders. This one focusing on the need to find money to keep states running. We'll talk about that and more when MidPoint continues.